Hi guys! So today we are going to be continuing with this new series. Sorry, I'm pushing it back. This new series I decided to start. And it's haunted places in different states. I was originally just going to do states that I could feasibly get to, but I realized I want to do all different states because eventually I want to go to some of the most haunted locations, as in the Stanley Hotel is somewhere that I definitely want to go to. I'm not so sold on the Queen Mary. That's one that if you guys want me to go to that, I'm gonna really have to like prepare myself, because that one, I know that if I do go to the Queen Mary, I'm not staying in room B340. I don't even think it's available anymore. I don't think people can stay in that room anymore, but if they ever open it up again, like for October when I would do these videos, yeah, no, absolutely not, because people have died in that room, and I have a very, I don't want to die, okay? And so when there's any mention of you could possibly, die or people have died, that's kind of where I draw the line with my boundaries. Yeah, I'm not as fearless as Sam and Colby. I'm not as fearless as Haley Reese, who's also stayed in that room. I have a boundary with not staying in rooms like that. But anyway, so we're gonna do the next state. As always, these articles will be linked down below because, I gotta give credit to the articles I use. There will be, yeah, I will be reading 11 off this list, so, feel free to peruse yourself, but here are 11 in this state. So let's go. Gadsby's Tavern Museum. Originally built as a tavern and inn for weary travelers to rest, Gadsby's Tavern Museum is the site of one of the most curious mysteries in history. In 1816, a young woman traveled to Alexandria on a ship with her husband, contracting a disease on her journey that led them to seek rest and rehabilitation at the inn. Again, guys, trigger warning, I have no idea what might come in this video. Again, I'm reading it on camera for the first time to get my genuine reaction. However, once brought to Gadsby's, her health quickly deteriorated, and on her deathbed, she made all the people that attended to her swear an oath to never reveal her identity. To this day, no one knows who she was, and she is buried in St. Paul's Cemetery with a gravestone marked Female Stranger. Both the cemetery, located near Duke Street, and room 8 of Gadsby's Tavern are supposedly haunted by the ghost of the young woman, forever unknown, yet never forgotten. That is so sad. Battleship Wisconsin. One of the largest battleships to have ever been built by the U.S. Navy, the Battleship Wisconsin looms large over Nauticus Museum and downtown Norfolk's Waterside Drive. Take a self-guided tour of the ship or get tickets for the guided tours, where you can hear all about the stories of former military servicemen and the ghosts that are said to now roam the ship. Want to get an even spookier experience on this haunted vessel? The museum hosts overnight stays on the ship, giving you the chance to potentially meet the spirits firsthand. Oak Grove Cemetery. Lexington has numerous historic sites, but few are as creepy as the Oak Grove Cemetery, where the famous Confederate general was laid to rest. Take a tour of Lexington that ends in the cemetery with Haunting Tales, Lexington's Ghost Tour, where entertainers dressed in old-fashioned attire take you back through the history of Lexington and the chilling tales that have many believing there are ghosts roaming the region, especially during Halloween. Some even swear they have seen Jackson and fellow Confederate General Robert E. Lee on his horse Traveler as they wander down the now unfamiliar streets of Lexington. The Martha Hotel and Spa. For an overnight stay in a haunted house, book a room at the Martha Hotel and Spa. The building served as a hospital for wounded soldiers from both sides during the Civil War, and many unfortunately never left the hospital to return home. The Martha is said to be haunted by a few of these phantoms, apparently unfinished with the world of the living. Learn about the story of the Yankee Sweetheart, the Phantom Horse, and the reappearing bloodstains when you stay at the historic Martha Hotel and Spa this Halloween. Hollywood Cemetery. Most cemeteries are at least a little creepy, but Richmond residents believe Hollywood Cemetery to be especially haunted. The landmark's deceased residents include over 18,000 Confederate soldiers, 2 United States presidents, the President of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, and 25 Civil War generals. In addition to these important burial memorials, you'll come across a large cast iron Newfoundland dog marking one small grave in the cemetery. The statue stands guard over the grave, holding the remains of a young girl who tragically unalived in 1862. Another strange sight within the cemetery is the tomb marked W.W. Poole. The site seems familiar to the other mausoleum-style graves, but according to gossip and lore, the Richmond vampire dwells inside the tomb. These local legends have Richmond residents believing that those buried in Hollywood Cemetery may not be resting in peace, but instead roaming the grounds at night looking to prey on unsuspecting visitors. The Exchange Hotel. The Exchange Hotel was built in 1860 beside an important railroad junction, offering passengers worn out from long trips a place to rest. Unfortunately, 2 years later, the Civil War came to the region, and the hotel had to be converted into a receiving hospital. In less than a year, over 23,000 sick and wounded soldiers were brought to the Exchange Hotel, and by the time the war ended, the number had reached over 70,000. Although no exact numbers exist for the casualties that occurred within the hotel's walls, over 700 people were buried on the surrounding grounds during the war. The hotel now functions as a Civil War museum with artifacts, uniforms, and firearms on display, but you may hear the faint moans and cries from soldiers that never left the premises when you visit. Sailors Creek Battlefield Historic State Park. Many of the places we have mentioned on this list had links to the Civil War, but few are as significant as Sailors Creek Battlefield Historic State Park, where the last 72 hours of the war were fought. The battle was bloody, with nearly a quarter of General Robert E. Lee's army either killed, captured, or wounded. In need of a makeshift hospital, the Confederates used the Overton Hillsman farmhouse on the property, with the battle raging literally in the backyard. Bloodstains still marked the floors of the house, and countless soldiers were buried in mass unmarked graves all over the property. If ghosts are real, they are likely hanging out around this spooky state park. Bracy General Store. As one of the earliest general stores in the area, originally opened in 1900, the Bracy General Store brought locals in for all sorts of goods and household items, even carrying coffins for the more unfortunate occasions. In addition to Bracy residents looking to stock up on home supplies, the general store was frequently perused by travelers passing through town. As the store was located near the train depot, while no specific tragedies were credited for the hauntings, current townsfolk say that restless traveling spirits can still be seen walking briskly into the general store, and the owner of the property claims to have captured many of the strange sightings on her security cameras. St. Albans Sanatorium. Sanatoriums were notoriously cruel in the early 20th century, using methods like electroshock therapy, lobotomies, and other archaic practices on the patients. The trials had no positive effect for the patients, who acted as test subjects for the doctors curious to see the results of such savage experiments without practicing on the general public. St. Albans Sanatorium was one such facility, and the tortured patients did not always survive the tests. Additionally, the property was the site of an extremely violent Civil War battle, and visitors today report hearing rifles or cannons firing and smelling gun smoke when walking the grounds. With so much misery occurring on the property, it's no surprise that St. Albans is considered one of the most haunted places. Colonial Williamsburg. As an early American settlement, numerous historic houses in colonial Williamsburg are believed to be haunted by past residents. One such property, the Peyton Randolph House, housed the Peachy family, who rented the property to many guests during their residency, including a young unnamed soldier attending the nearby cottage, William and Mary. Unfortunately, the young man fell ill during his stay and never recovered. He unalived in the home, and today there have been multiple accounts of visitors spotting a young man walking sadly through the house or hearing heavy footsteps above their heads, even though no one is upstairs. Take a complete tour of Colonial Williamsburg, creepiest locations on the Colonial Ghost Tour. A roughly hour-and-a-half moonlit tour of the haunted historic grounds. There is one that we are skipping because I do not feel comfortable talking about it. Captain Timothy Hill House. Built around 1800, the Captain Timothy Hill House has been dated as the oldest house still standing on the island. The house avoided certain demolition in 1980 when new owners moved it from the original location, but the home's mysterious past can still be felt by visitors. The home originally sat right by the water where a young family member or neighbor carved likenesses of the passing trade ships on the rough wood exterior of the building. This early graffiti is still visible today, but what led to the haunted history began with Captain Timothy Hill and his daughter Jeannie. Captain Hill favored Jeannie above his other children and wished to marry her to a wealthy, well-educated man. However, a young man named Tom Freeman, who grew up with the family, was in love with young Jeannie. When the captain refused to allow the marriage, Tom became desperate and ambushed Jeannie and her mother in a field. Although the details are unclear, Tom ended up unaliving Jeannie and her mother. While the mother survived, Jeannie died from her wound, and Tom unalived himself in despair. It is believed that Jeannie still hangs around the house, pining for the promising future so suddenly taken from her. There are dozens of historic sites that are rumored to be haunted, and if you're looking for a scare this Halloween, these eerie destinations are sure to deliver bone-chilling fun. Which peculiar places do you visit for Halloween? So, those are places in the next state. I do not read the state on camera because I don't want, like speculations about where I live. So you guys will see in the articles down below all the states that I cover, though. I will be covering every state in the U.S. Other countries I may do, not sure. I'm looking into the 2 pieces of ghost hunting equipment I want to get. If you guys want to know what that is, I want to get an EMF meter and I would like to get a spirit box. Those are the 2 things I want to get. If you guys know where I can find good quality of these, please leave that also down in the comments below. You can link where I can find these things. If you have them yourself or you know someone who bought them, you can ask where they got them. I really would want the good quality stuff because, I actually want to try to do an actual investigation at places. Also, I'm not like most people that sneak into a place, and I would like to, if there is an owner of a place, I would like to email them for permission that I can do this. Hotels are different. You can stay at a hotel and you can do investigations all you want, but it's places that are like no longer in use, like or even if I go to the museums, you still need to ask permission. If I go on ghost tours, I would ask, can I film this tour or not? Especially the one that I definitely want to try to do in October with my sister and my friend. I definitely am going to ask if I could film them because, bring awareness about it. Like, oh my gosh, you guys can go on this awesome ghost tour, but also like, so you guys can see it. But yeah, so I am super duper excited to be reading about these, and even like history is something that I'm interested in, but like reading about these and like going to maybe some of these places. But definitely tell me the places that you guys want me to go to, and if I can do it, I will. I'm a little scared about doing the cemeteries, but if you guys really want me to go to a cemetery, I would just like to make sure the church is still in use if I go to a cemetery, because otherwise, cemeteries are not inherently evil. I want to put that out there. They're not inherently evil, but sometimes there's some energy lurking around ones. Like Haley, Loie, and Andrew went to a 1800s cemetery, and there was some bad energy hanging around there. So also, I don't want to disrespect anybody. that is buried there. I don't want to be seen as disrespecting anyone. So the cemeteries, even if I said I might go to one, I'm probably gonna take a step back and probably maybe not do that. Just because I don't want to disrespect anybody who that's their final resting place. I want to be respectful to spirits. I don't want to disrespect them in any way. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you like this series, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!